Well, we just wrapped up an incredible Masters golf tournament, and there's plenty to talk about on that front. We're actually going to talk about some lessons we can take away from what we all witnessed in Augusta, some financial lessons we can apply to our life moving forward to help us have a better chance at success in retirement. Welcome into Perfect Game Retirement. I'm Ben George with Ryan Ledden at Black Oak Asset Management. And Ryan, Augusta is always an awesome time of the year. The Masters is, one of the best tournaments in the world, regardless of sport. But this year delivered all the drama.
It was awesome. Like we were talking before the show, my kids very rarely watch golf because one, it's just we don't have time. It's very rarely do we have time on a Sunday or a weekend to watch golf. I try to make it a point to watch the Masters because you're right. I mean, I'm a homer. It's obviously in the state of Georgia, but still the prestige of it is just unlike any other. I think I've been there one time for a practice round, and it was incredible. I could not imagine the energy that goes on that, especially the final day. But my kids, we actually didn't have any games going on. We had games earlier in the day, but we were done. My son's team got eliminated that day, but my kids were glued to the TV the last like 3 holes, and they never watched golf, and they're just asking 10,000 questions those last 3 holes. But they got to appreciate kind of the pressure, the energy, the excitement. It was awesome.
Yeah, that once he sank that last putt in the extra hole, and just that last, like, I think 6-7 minutes, I think CBS, somebody calculated, like, said 46 words over the last 7 minutes, that broadcast. And you could just, you felt like you were in the moment watching him and the shots there. It was incredible and really cool to be a part of that, just even watching it. And it's something I know I'll remember. I'm sure your kids will probably carry that memory for quite some time, but really cool. But I want to take some of what we learned from the Masters and apply it to what you do every day, because, I mean, surprisingly, golf is a lot like retirement planning.
Mm-hmm. It is. There's a lot of parallels because it's, usually it's a longevity thing. 18 holes take a while. There's a lot of ups and downs. Good shots, bad shots. So yeah, ton of parallels. So anytime we can do money and sports analogies and tie them together, I'm all for it.
I know you are. So we'll jump into that again. All the information to get in touch with Ryan, if you have questions, if you want to meet with Black Oak Asset Management and get in touch with them, all the links are in the description. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. You'll probably see them on the screen as we're going through today's topic. And if you haven't joined us on YouTube yet, please make sure you do that. We appreciate your support, and please hit subscribe as well. All right, let's start with the hole-in-one. There actually was not a hole-in-one here in 2025. There's been 34 total throughout the history of the tournament. 24 of those have come on 16 on Sunday. They actually changed the pin placement this year and put it in honor of Jack's Masters victory 50 years ago. They put it in that back corner, so it made it a lot tougher on Sunday to actually score. But the lesson here is, I know, Ryan, we all want to see a hole-in-one, right? That's what we're always chasing. But that one hole over the course of 72 may not make that much of a difference.
You're exactly right. And that's interesting fact that you started out with. I had no idea that, because I did notice that on 16. I'm like, the pin's different. Like, yeah. Why is that? So I didn't hear. So kudos to you for knowing the history and the backdrop of that. But I had no idea, because you're right. Every time people get on 16, you kind of hold your breath. You're like, oh, this could happen. This could happen. So you're right. I mean, I think some people are out there trying to find the next big thing, the next Apple, the next whatever when it comes to investments or things like that, but it very rarely happens. You may hit one, but okay, maybe you didn't put a ton of money into it, and yeah, maybe it's like quadrupled or whatever x'd over time, but then it still doesn't make a giant difference. Do I have a couple clients who kind of quote unquote hit it big? Yeah, there are a few, and all of them are like, you know what, it was just dumb luck. Like I caught one early on and it's taken off. So it does happen, but it also goes to zero at the same time. I've seen it the other way, where it kind of blows up. So yeah, that one hole-in-one, which may be a great story, but it may not make a huge impact. I mean, I know me personally, I've maybe come close-ish to a hole-in-one, but never had a hole-in-one. Would that be an awesome thing to do? Yeah, it'd be great. But I kind of look at the same way from a retirement planning or investment standpoint. Like, just, you got to keep chugging away. You got to just keep putting in, and hope the market does what it does, because history has told us the market has done what it's done. So we just have to go on that. We don't have crystal balls looking forward, but yeah, that hole in one's usually not going to make that big of an impact. Will it at that moment? Yes, but like you said, over a course of 4 days, it really may not. It's usually those four, the 10-foot putts. Those are the ones that make the difference throughout the course of a round.
Yeah, and actually, none of those players that made those 34 hole in ones actually went on to win the Masters to that
There
point.
you go.
So, all right, lesson number 2, you need a full set of clubs. You need to have every tool in your arsenal when you're out there. You don't know which club you're going to need. You have variety. In 2022, when Scotty Scheffler won, he used every single club in the bag over the course of the week. What you do, Ryan, you need to have all options available, right?
That's right. I mean, we're not 10 cup here, playing an entire round with a 7-iron. You do. And that's kind of where we come in, kind of being a full financial shop where we can really do anything under the sun, if you will. So we present people with all the options that they do have and strategies and quote unquote products, if you will. So we run the gamut as far as that goes. So it's like having a bunch of different clubs in your bag. Okay, obviously we're on the green, so we're using a putter. Okay, so if we're taking income for the next year, what are we taking it out of? Well, we're probably taking it out of more steady, kind of chug along investments. Are they going to get the huge returns? No, but they're important and they need to create that income. So, off the tee box, all right, we got the driver, and those are fun to hit and see how far we can hit them. But sometimes we're going to end up, we're going to end up out of bounds, or we're going to snap hook it or something. But that can be more of our volatile type of investments where, hey, we could hit it big right here, but you know what? We know that this could go way down, but it also could go way up. So you're right. Having all the different sets of clubs in your bag is very much like having different types of investments with different risks, from tax planning to annuities to life insurance to whatever it may be. All those things encompass how to get where we need to from a financial planning standpoint and retirement plan, just like all the clubs in your bag.
Yep, absolutely. We're talking about lessons we learned from the Masters. Again, if you want to get in touch with Ryan, speakwithryan.com is the easiest way to do that. Avoiding the hazards, that's lesson number 3. And, we always see it around Amen Corner, Rays Creek. Usually it's 12, the par 3, where somebody slips up, hits in the water there. We almost saw it this year with Rory hitting that wedge into the water at 13, which I think at the time, everybody thought that was going to be the shot that led to the collapse and him not winning, but he overcame that. So what's the lesson here with avoiding the hazards in retirement planning?
Yeah, you're right. 13. I thought that was going to be the demise, but it just shows how mentally tough those guys are to get through that. Some of them don't get through that. I mean, wasn't it Scotty Scheffler on 12, like the day or two before, like hits it up in the bank, and all of a sudden it just trickles out, and all of a sudden he's just like sitting on the fringe.
Yeah.
So sometimes, you get lucky with avoiding hazards like that. So, yeah, I mean, you want to, and that's where sometimes avoiding hazards, meaning, we could go in a bunch of different directions with this, but sometimes people want to take on too much risk. I thought of one thing here as far as avoiding hazards. So there's risk tolerance and there's risk capacity. Like how much risk do we need to take on, or how much risk can we take on? And sometimes those are two very different things. So if we don't need, like if we do a full financial plan and it's like, hey, your chances of success are insanely high, and there's a big chunk left over. So if we don't need to chase a return, you don't necessarily need to chase a return. It's you want to avoid that hazard. Like this is going to be successful. It's not going to be successful if we lose 40%, which could definitely happen, especially if you take on too much risk. So there's no reason to do that. I get it. You could earn 40%. I get that, which would be awesome. But does it change your life? Probably not. You'll probably just leave more from a legacy standpoint, which is great. That may be your goal, but there needs to be a plan for that. And if you don't want to leave that much to the next generation, you may not want to do that, or leave it to a charity, whatever it may be. But avoiding hazards, avoiding pitfalls. There's certain types of investments that I just kind of stay away from. I'm like, we don't need to. The track record's not there, and I don't think it's too much risk to be taking on. So if we want to avoid hazards at all costs, again, people's risk tolerance is going to be different across the board. If you're willing to take on that risk and you have the capacity to, okay, I'm okay with that. But there's no sense in rolling the dice when you get to retirement, because your income earning potential years are basically gone. So let's kind of stay the course and create a plan for that and try to avoid those hazards. But hazards sometimes are going to happen. We're going to hit it in the sand. We're going to hit it in the water. What's our plan B when that happens? What do we have kind of in our back pocket, if you will? What's our next shot after that?
Yeah, I like that. All right. The final holes are just as important as the first. That's lesson number 4. And we see this all the time, right? You want to get off to a good start, but also, hey, that second 9 matters a whole lot. And I think with retirement plan too, Ryan, you don't think about that as much. I think about the early years or holes mean more than the later, but they're all very important.
Yeah, they are. And you can go back when you look at a full round of, 60 something shots in a, which I wish I only had 60 something shots in a round. But these guys that we're talking about in the Masters, every shot is important, because you see those guys in the interview afterwards. I know Bryson was like talking about him. He just reeled off several holes where he's like, oh, I didn't hit a good shot here, and here. And it went back to the beginning all the way through. He didn't just focus on 16, 17, and 18. He talked about all of them. And kind of another sports parallel with baseball too, 162 games. I mean, that's a lot of times they say, the old saying is, you can't win it in April. You can definitely lose it in April, and the Braves are teetering on that. Let's hope not. Let's hope the Braves keep coming and clawing back, and they're getting better. But some say, yeah, you can lose it in April, but you can't win it in April. So kind of a lot of parallels when it comes to golf too. So every shot is important, because you saw it went to a playoff. I mean, every shot, and I know everybody wants to focus on Rory's 18 putt that he missed, but the amount of pressure I cannot even imagine. But then he quickly recovered, went to a playoff hole, and won the first playoff hole, which is unbelievable. So, it's every shot is important, and it doesn't matter. Even if you're starting late, start late, but at least get started, do something somewhere. But every dollar that you save is going to be important. Some have more ability to save, some have more capacity, some start earlier, but start where you start.
All right. Last lesson here that we learned from the Masters is every pro has a caddy. They're very noticeable out at Augusta with their all whites on. And I think Rory's caddy is a kid he grew up with. He's been with him for so long, but they make such a difference in helping them navigate the course, knowing what shots to hit, what clubs to play, knowing just what not to do a lot of times is so important. So I know this is kind of your role, right, Ryan, when you're working with people?
That's right. A caddy, a coach, whatever it may be. Yes, a caddy is so important. And if you watch the, what's the Netflix show? Is it
Full Swing?
Full Swing. Yeah. Thank you. I was like, one swing, Full Swing. And they, a lot of times they talk to the caddy as well, and the relationship they do have. And so, yeah, they're a mentor, they're a coach. And yeah, that's essentially what I am. And some people, could Rory go out there and play on his own? Sure. Yeah, he could. But would he be as good? Would he be as effective? I mean, when these guys win, these caddies get a cut. They get a percentage, and just like same thing. I mean, we get paid obviously for what we do, and that's fine. If you have questions about that, I'd be more than happy to answer those questions on how we do get paid, how we work with people, and so that's where you have to be a value add. Just like a caddy is a value add, we're a value add, and we feel like we are. Could some people do this on their own? Sure. They could, but you see these pros who do it at the top level, and all of them have caddies, all of them have swing coaches, all of them have trainers. They have a bunch of people in their corner, just like you should from a financial planning standpoint, whether it's an advisor, a CPA, estate planning attorney, whatever it is, you need to have that team in your corner.
Absolutely. Well, it's a lot of good lessons, and there's a pretty good career in being a caddy for some of these guys. This is certainly the case. But look, if you have questions for Ryan, want to sit down and talk about anything we've discussed today, or hey, you want to begin your plan, you haven't started your planning process, you're getting close to retirement, you really want to make sure you hammer out the details and make sure you got everything covered, go to speakwithryan.com. You can schedule a time to meet with him right there through the website. Again, speakwithryan.com. But man, what an incredible week. And I know this is going to be an Augusta tournament and a Masters that we'll remember for a very, very long time. So this is a fun conversation, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.